Welcome everyone back to another edition of I Want to Teach English. I'm Jose Torres, and I want to talk about the strategy of scaffolding. Now, I think everyone does this at some level or does this throughout their various lessons that they do. But I really want to talk about specifically the scaffolding technique that we use for newcomers. Now, granted, we could use this methodology with just about any level of student, whether they're a newcomer, whether they're an English learner or not. So I'm going to get right into that. So before I do, please do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please consider becoming a subscriber. If you're watching this, consider sharing this video with others and some of the other videos that I have on here. Perhaps you have colleagues that could use some of this information or maybe be interested. So the channel is growing. I mean, it's really a wonderful thing to see. All right, so let's talk about scaffolding, specifically working with English learners. Now, like I said, you could do this with just about any level, proficiency level of English learner. But I really want to focus on scaffolding itself with newcomers. Now, there's a couple of ways we could do this. I want to talk about these, specifically these 5 techniques in the scaffolding method. When we're dealing with pre-teaching vocabulary, it's really just a matter of introducing them to words that are going to be part of a text that we're going to read. So you got to be real strategic about what words you would use and why you want to focus on those words, because especially if we're dealing with a curriculum or a story that is really academic, and that's always the goal for us as teachers, whether we're working in a public school, a private school, or even we're working with adults. It's always moving them up that academic ladder, if you will. And so we got to be strategic in what words we pick. But whatever they are, whether it's just a single word or a phrase, we have to really hone in on that prior to going into the main bulk of the lesson, right? So the reason why we do this is because it gives students a head start. And it helps them engage more confidently with this new content because they have to kind of wrap their heads around the words. Maybe it's similar in their native language, or maybe there's some reference that they can draw from and kind of reinforce their understanding of the text, or at the very least, understand the context in which it's being used. So one of the ways we could do that is with visuals. Now, there are a myriad of visual ideas that you can use. I think the go-to for most of us, really ESL teachers, are really pictures or some kind of videos, but also really that gesture or modeling or demonstrating for them. You know, for example, if you want to use a word like melancholy, for example, melancholy is very much like sadness. So you can really play this thing out or show them a little short video clip, or maybe even make those facial expressions, because sometimes the students respond to it more when it's their teacher right in front of them doing these things. So this will help them gather a better explanation and understanding of the word. That was the example that I used. But, you could take any word and really try to find some kind of visual representation or something to kind of give them a more rounded understanding of what the word is. So pre-teaching vocabulary is a big one. Chunking information is an absolute go-to for me. And that with the development of AI and being able to use AI with a lot of the text that we have now with the curriculums that we work with, it's a little easier for me to do that. I think teachers really just got to figure out a way to make the chunking of it so the AI doesn't go completely off course, because sometimes it will do that if you don't give it enough directions. So really it's just a matter of fine-tuning how to direct the AI to chunk it. A lot of times, if you have the opportunity, you have the time really to take a text and kind of narrow it down and kind of paraphrase it, for lack of a better way of putting it, but really breaking down the text and really the instructions that go with that, and really give a simpler explanation of the content. Okay, now sentence frames could be long, whereas they just fill in one missing word depending on how low level the students are. So if you're dealing with like level 1 proficiency students, you're obviously going to want to probably have 1 or 2 words missing from the sentence, and then just got to maybe give them a word bank, and then they can just kind of figure out which words go in those sentences to complete those thoughts, because like we've already done the pre-teaching of those vocabulary words that'll be in that word bank. So it's really part of the step going forward, really. Now, let's talk about modeling and think alouds. Now, think alouds, I think, is something that more gen ed teachers do. So ESL teachers tend to do think alouds, but they do them more on at least for me, when I do think alouds, I'm just basically reading the text to them. I'll always ask them to repeat it back to me, because that's just a good practice. But the think alouds really is something I do that a lot, because I want the students to know that I'm also having questions about what we're reading. I'm also wondering about these things. I'm also noticing these details, and I have questions about them. And so I ask these questions in general out in the open to see if any of my students are catching on and saying, I think maybe it means this or this or this. And so a lot of times it will elicit some reaction, and that's kind of the point of it. Next one is the guided practice. Our fifth and final one here is the guided practice and gradual release. So we're going to start with this guided practice. It's not so different than probably what you're already doing anyway. It's when, we work closely with the students. Obviously, if you're working with a smaller group of students, it's more, I think it's more conducive. But if you're working with a larger group of students, you can still do this. It will just be, more general, and you have to take into consideration all the eyeballs that are on you at that time, and they're all trying to grasp what it is that's happening. So you have to release this information in pieces. Now, with a larger group, like I said, it's probably a little bit more challenging, because you have some students that are going to get it faster than some other students that'll kind of be still a little behind trying to figure out what's going on, and you have these other students that are already catching on, and so you feel the pace is being pushed. And so you have to manage that as the teacher to make sure you don't have some students running away with it and some students just scratching their heads going, I have no idea what's going on. So that's really where you have to start setting up pair works, especially if you have some students that are getting it. Pair them with the students that are kind of still challenged with that. It's very strategic. It's on the fly. It's moving fast, but you have to make those decisions. You have to make those calls at that time. So if you have a larger group, then yeah, you're going to have to make those calls, have those students paired up or small group with some of them that don't get it exactly, with those that do. And eventually you're going to want to work your way to an independent tasks for these students. That's how they're going to build their skills eventually. You can't have them rely on somebody all the time. Those training wheels have to come up, and it doesn't have to be for long periods of time either. You just do them for little short spurts here and there. But eventually those training wheels have to come off at times, and it doesn't have to be a big task. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. You want them to feel comfortable. You want them to feel, safe and not feel like they're overwhelmed. But, as much as the students are learning, we are also learning. I know as a teacher, though I've been doing this for 23 years, I'm still finding myself learning and trying to tweak my tools, and trying to tweak my strategies and try to tweak my methods so that I can be better as a teacher for them. Because at the end of the day, their skills and how they improve really rest on just how well we do our jobs. Anyway, I hope that these 5 points to scaffolding are things that you are already practicing. If not, or if you're doing it, but I really didn't think of that. But that's fine. That's why we're doing this. Please feel free to share your ideas, and I invite you to leave any comments or DM me if you're not comfortable with that. But I do want to take 1 second, if I can, if you'll allow me to indulge you a little bit on one selfish plug, if you don't mind. If you are working with newcomers, I did write this book. It's called I Want to Learn English, Language Skills for the Real World. This is for level 1 beginners. This is a great book that I worked on for years and years and years to complete. I teach this book every day that I'm in the classroom with newcomers. I want you to consider that. Go on Amazon, order a copy today. You can always email me. If you have questions, I'm always helping and assisting and also giving just Q&A stuff with teachers all around the country. So I'm an open book, literally. And I extend that to any of my viewers. If you are interested in using this book with your students and have questions or just want feedback, I'm here. Anyway, I hope you're still with me. And if you are, please hit that like button, share this video with others. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do so. Share this, let everyone know. And really, if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears, man. Drop me a comment below. Until next time, God bless.